All right, Propel Program, Brent Fikowski here, September 29th to October 5th. I missed last week's video. It's crazy. I was at Wadapalooza SoCal, got super busy, but I'm really excited about this third week of the 5 week block for Propel Athlete and Propel Competitor. Propel Competitor, we're going to start by talking about that one. That's if you want to compete in the sport of CrossFit, functional fitness. This is the place to go using everything that I've learned. This 5 week block, as I mentioned already, is sort of focused on strength and endurance, sort of in their two separate parts. Not a ton of specific gymnastics work, although we are doing gymnastics within this block. There was a lot of skill work the last few blocks related to like bar muscle ups and stuff. There's some specific L-sit work. We've obviously got still some handstand push-up stuff with Diane, and some gymnastic stuff sprinkled throughout, but really focusing more on just basic leg strength, and then lots of work in the conditioning department. We've got some tough ski erg intervals. Next week it's going to be even tougher. Sorry, not sorry. Lots of zone 2 work, and then some specific work on Gretel and Diane. For the conditioning, stick in there, right? Put in the time. I once read something about this Olympic rower, and he said anyone can be an Olympic rower, like an Olympic, like actually at the Olympians. You just got to row 12 kilometers a day or something like that, which is a long time to spend on the rower every day. But he's like, hey, no, not many people take me up on it, and the ones that do, turns out they're pretty good. Doesn't really matter the paces you row. Now we're obviously getting a little more specific than that with the work we're doing in the 60-minute if you're just doing the condensed, or obviously compete the longer track, which are obviously both still part of the same paying program. But know that those paces are there, hold to those RPs, work hard, get in that zone 2 work, trying to mix some of it up, like working a little bit with, fluctuating very slightly within your zone 2 heart rate. So, for me, that's like under 135 usually. So I'll go from 120 to 135. So intentionally starting my pace where I'm holding 120 for a couple minutes and then slowly increasing. And that's just a really good way to just, feel that out and just make sure you're in control, as opposed to, oh, I'm immediately at 134, 135, 136, okay, 134. Trying to feel that wave and build that wave in there, and just keep it a little more fun, keep you in tune. And then obviously the back squat stuff, the front squat, the snatch, the clean and jerk, you're obviously noticing the trends there. They're tough, and, lots of reps, and that's part of it, right? We're doing, triples on the clean and jerks. We're doing, I think this week is on the back squat, we are at 4s on the back squat. And yeah, just embracing that. It is what it is. It's nothing fancy, but it works. And getting in more repetitions. It's still heavy weights, right? They're all kind of floating around that 70 to 80% as opposed to singles, but getting in that density. I'm going to talk a little bit about Gretel and Diane. So Gretel this week, we're going a little bit heavier than Gretel. So 155 and for the men, and 105 for the women. So a little bit heavier. That's about 20 pounds heavier for the men, 10 pounds heavier for the ladies. Still working in intervals. So work on that technique that you worked on last week. Obviously the video was there, and work on that technique. Try and start to figure out which one works for this. Dial in which one you think you're going to do. Maybe use the technique you think you're going to use for 135 and try to hold on for a few reps at 155 using that technique. Still really fast burpees, stay low. And then for Diane, this week we are again going a little bit heavier. So a little bit of a deficit, a little bit heavier, but very short reps. So should be able to transition quickly. So quite a bit heavier, 275 for the men instead of 225, 185 for the ladies instead of 155. So quite a big jump there. That's 50 pounds and 30 pounds. But should be able to, just because it's 3s and 2s, should be able to rep those out pretty quick. Keep the heart rate high, transition quick, practice kicking up into that wall, lock out, and then immediately drop down into that first handstand push-up. Same thing, walk over the barbell, tighten up the belt quick if you're using the belt, immediately get those hands on and pull that bar off the floor, not too much fussing around. Next week, a little bigger sets, and then week 5, we're hitting Diane, we're hitting Gretel, so that'll be a lot of fun. That's really what I wanted to talk about there. With the ski, really hold to those RPEs. It's going to be tough. And then next week, like I said, is going to be a little tougher. Try not to think too far ahead. But keep an eye on your RPEs this week and what paces you think you can hold, and that's going to help you a little bit next week. When it comes to Propel Athlete, I'll go over that quick. The big focus on this one has obviously just been the actual running, the sprinting work, right? So we've got the gallops, the single leg switches on the wall, the actual sprinting with different starting positions each week, which has been a lot of fun. And then just sort of some like basic conditioning, more like kind of CrossFit conditioning, machine conditioning. Really look after, the hamstrings, look after the knees, look after the calves. We're running a bit more, and obviously, we've been jumping a lot, so should be fine, but still, a little more foam rolling if you can on those muscles. Add in some more isos, which obviously we did a lot in the first 2 blocks. I think we're probably going to add those in the next block a little bit more. And yeah, excited for, the progress to come from this sprinting. Hopefully by the end of these 5 weeks, you're feeling a little lighter on your feet, you're feeling faster, you're feeling more athletic with that straight ahead sprinting. And then yeah, keep with the barbell back rack. Someone was asking me about this with the box squats. Try not to lose tension. There are different ways to do a box squat. There's not ever really a wrong way to do a box squat. But with this one, try to not rock back and then rock forwards. I know sometimes that is how, so I was talking to a Propel program member about this. And, they're like, oh, I was taught to do box squats where you sit down, you kind of rock back and you rock forward and sit up. There's nothing wrong with that. This is more like an active pause. Like imagine you're doing a pause squat where you're going down to the bottom. You're not just sinking into the bottom, relaxing, coming up. You're going into depth, you're holding solid at depth, and then you're exploding up. So it's basically that, right? So slow tempo down, hold on the box. You are releasing some of your weight onto the box. Not all of it, but you're keeping tight in the core, keeping some tension in those legs, releasing some of the tension, think about that bar position. And if that bar position, ideally in the back squat, it's, in the middle of your feet the whole time, right? From the top to the bottom, middle, on the way up, everything. So when you're descending, imagine where that bar position is, like it's on a Smith squat, Smith machine, where it's going straight up and down. And then you get to that bottom position, you hold, you're resting on the box a little bit, and then you push up. And likely what happens is, as you do a squat, it gets heavy. Sometimes you'll drift forward. So really, you get to the bottom, resist the urge to go back. But as soon as you start driving up, I always think about driving that bar backwards. So if I'm here, sorry for the photo, I think about driving that bar backwards because usually people are going to, crouch forward and fail forward. That's where the bar is going to drift. So think about driving that bar up and back, which is then actually going to drive it straight up and down. So that's it, folks. September 29th, October 5th. Fun week of programming here, Propel program. Any questions at all, Train Heroic, hit me up in the chat and we'll get after it.